confronting a painful past. Almost 100 years to the day since a black man was lynched in Indianapolis, his case is finally getting some closure. News 8's Adam PINSKER tells us how George Tompkins is getting justice.
Yeah, Cody, Tompkins was lynched here in Indianapolis in 1922. He was 19 years old and has no known surviving relatives. Now, a group seeking racial equity in Indiana arranged a proper funeral for Tompkins on Saturday. Correcting the record.
Today, I bring to you, on behalf of the Marion County Coroner's Office, a new death certificate which identifies the manner of death as homicide.
On March 16, 1922, Indianapolis resident George Tompkins left for work and never made it home. His body was found hanging from a tree at Riverside Park.
The coroner himself went to the crime scene that day. He observed that Tompkins' hands had been tied behind his back.
But someone in the coroner's office listed Tompkins' death as a suicide, even though evidence at the scene showed he was murdered.
Whites in Indianapolis committed 2 violent atrocities against Tompkins. They took his life, and then they erased the memory of the event and replaced it with a lie.
In addition to amending Tompkins' death certificate, a headstone was laid at Floral Park Cemetery in his honor. Although lynchings were common in the South during the 1800s and 1900s, the Equal Justice Initiative says 18 lynchings occurred in Indiana. One of the victims was George Ward of Terre Haute. His great-grandson was on hand to pay respects to Tompkins.
It was heartbreaking because I had wondered as a young man why all of the men with the last name Ward left Terre Haute. The generation before me, my mother's generation.
The Indiana Remembrance Coalition formed a year ago to help tell the stories of lynching victims throughout the state whose stories have faded with time. The group made sure Tompkins could finally rest in peace.
Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it.
And no one was ever charged with Tompkins' death. Earlier this week, Congress passed bipartisan legislation designating lynching as a federal hate crime. President Biden is expected to sign that bill into law. Adam PINSKER, Wish TV, WishTV.com, and follow us on Facebook.